All right, everyone. Today we will be completing lesson 6 in booklet 11. I believe this is the last lesson in the booklet. It is on simplifying and evaluating expressions. Now, in this lesson, we're simply going to be combining all of the concepts that we have learned in this unit. So let's take a look. Here we have a pretty long expression, right? I'm not going to read it out. We're just going to handle it one step at a time. But our goals are to simplify and then evaluate if x is equal to 2. So let's just start with what we know, and we know how to simplify. So let's clean up shop. Let's combine these operations that are immediately next to each other. Now, all of them are pluses, and two pluses come out to be positive. So let's just rewrite this as such. So this is going to be positive 3x plus 1 plus 2x plus 4, right? We don't really need these brackets around here either, so let's drop them. All right, and now that we have simplified that a little bit, we can start to collect like terms. So I have these two that I'm highlighting in green. Those are like terms because they have the same variable x with the same exponent 1. And we have our two constants here, remember? A constant is a number that doesn't have any variable attached to it, and you can add constants together as if they are like terms because arguably they are. So let's start with our green, 3x plus 2x. Remember that when collecting like terms, all you need to do is add the coefficients, that is the numbers behind the variable, and 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. Also remember that the variable itself is unchanged. Now let's add our constants together. 1 plus 4 is equal to 5 as well. So the answer is 5x plus 5. Now we're done simplifying. It can't be any simpler than this, but we can keep working on this problem because we're told that x is equal to 2. So the next step is wherever we see x, we plug in the number 2 instead, and then we solve. Now remember, when a number is directly attached to a variable, it implies multiplication. So 5 times x means that we need to multiply the 5 by 2. And 5 times 2 is 10. And then this plus 5 just carries down. So our final answer is going to be 10 plus 5, which is 15. Right? These questions are starting to require a fair bit of work. So make sure that you're writing small enough that you can fit it all in the space provided. Let's start with the second problem. First thing we need to do is simplify. So let's clean up shop. Let's combine these two. Let's combine these two that are right next to each other. Two pluses make a plus, a minus and a plus make a minus. So this is equal to negative 2a plus b plus 4a minus 2b. Now, these brackets right here aren't necessary, so we're going to drop them. And we can start taking a look at our like terms. We have a negative 2a and we have a positive 4a. Those are both like because they share the same variable a with the same exponent 1. And similarly, we have b and negative 2b that share the same variable and exponent. Please remember that if you don't see a coefficient to a variable, that just means that the coefficient is 1, so you can add that 1 behind the b if you would like. All right, let's collect those like terms. So we have negative 2a plus 4a. Please don't forget the negative here. Negative 2 plus 4 is equal to positive 2a. And now let's take a look at our purple. 1b minus 2b, positive 1 minus 2 is equal to negative 1b. Right? Now, we don't need to write that 1 because if we write nothing, it's implied that the coefficient is 1, right? So Let's substitute values for our variables because we can't simplify anymore. So a is equal to 1 and b is equal to -3. Let's plug those in. Whenever I see an a, I'm going to write +1. Remember that this is multiplication. And whenever I see a b, I'm going to write in -3. So I'm going to move over here to this side for the sake of room. The first thing that I'm going to do is 2 times 1. That's equal to 2. Now, on the same line, I can combine these two negatives, right? Because these two negatives are going to make a positive. So this is like 2 plus 3, which is equal to 5, and then you're done. That question's a little bit tricky. Okay, final example. Try this one on your own, and then make sure that your answer matches mine. Again, the first thing that we're going to do is clean up our problem a little bit, combining these adjacent operations, right? A negative and a positive makes a negative, two negatives make a positive, and two positives make a positive. So we can rewrite this as positive 3c minus 2d plus c plus 2c. Oh, we have three c's here. Interesting. All right, while I'm here, I'm just going to do a couple small things to help us process this information. First of all, this c right here that doesn't have a coefficient, that coefficient is 1. Second of all, this first term with these brackets, we don't need those there. We can drop them. So next step is to collect like terms. Now this problem's interesting because I have three terms which are alike, three terms which have just a C, and only one term that has a D. So our D has no like terms, it has no friends. And that's okay. So let's start with our C's, right? Positive 3C plus 1C plus 2C. We can add those all together at once. Plus 3 positive 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. So this is going to become 6c. Now, the negative 2d has nobody to combine with, so that's just going to stay as negative 2d. And we're fully simplified. The next thing that we need to do is evaluate when c is equal to negative 2 and d is equal to 4. So let's plug that in. Wherever I see a C, I plug in negative 2, making sure to use my brackets, and wherever I see a D, I plug in a 4, remembering that there is multiplication happening between those numbers that I put the dots in. So we use BEDMAS to solve this, right? Multiplication first. Let's multiply those two pairs. 6 times negative 2. Well, 6 times 2 is 12. And since one is positive and one is negative, the answer is going to be negative. And then we have negative 2 times 4. Well, 2 times 4 is 8. And a positive and a negative make a negative. So what we're left with is negative 12 minus 8, which is going to equal negative 20. All right, that's a tricky lesson. Definitely take the time to ask questions if you have them, and practice, practice, practice with the homework.